This episode is going to be a little different than usual because I want to talk about grief and I want to talk about what it means to be alcohol free as you're experiencing grief and pursuing an alcohol free life. And to just catch you up, I lost my soul dog really unexpectedly last Monday on Memorial Day. He was 11 and a half, and he was older, but by all means, my husband and I thought we would have so much more time with him. And it was completely caught off guard. And in literally a moment, he was fine in the morning. And then that evening, we didn't have him anymore. And this wasn't like just, a family dog. Like Huxley was my soul dog. Huxley was the best thing that ever happened to me and my husband. And we loved him so much. I just feel this loss so deeply. And part of me just wanted to not record for a while, take a break. And I did. I did a little bit. I did. But another part of me just wanted to share the story, share how I'm managing with grief, and to make meaning of everything that happened, and especially share back on how that relates to my alcohol-free journey. I am so, so grateful that I'm alcohol-free. I am so grateful. Even if I was just like a casual drinker who rarely drank, you would still drink through this. You would drink through a death like this. And being fully present to this grief experience has been both very painful, but so beautiful as well. And I couldn't even imagine having alcohol right now in this moment. It just disgusts me. It's just revolting to me. And I think back to some of the loss I felt in other times in my life, especially I had a really big heartbreak in my early 20s, and I drowned myself in alcohol back then. I drowned myself in it. And, I missed the point. I didn't get to really grieve. I didn't get to process. I just shoved it all down and created even more triggers and discontent into the future and more hysteria into the future. And so really sitting with all these feelings, there's so much joy that happens in the alcohol-free life, but also you feel the depths of your sadness. You feel the depth of your despair. And so last Monday on Memorial Day, our dog woke up fine. He ate his lunch or did breakfast, and we worked that day. We snuggled him a bit. It was so cool. Me and my husband have worked from home for the last 5 years because of Euphoric, because of what we built. And every day, we just got to punctuate our days by cuddling him and kissing him and going on walks with him. We were so present with this dog. We loved this dog so much. My sweet Huxley. And so we were doing that. I remember getting on the kitchen floor with him a few times, and we decided to go to the pool because it's Memorial Day, and why not get in the sun a little bit. And Huxley just sat outside at that time and looked like he was chilling in the sun. And it wasn't until later in the evening that we noticed that he sat under the table, which was really weird. He didn't usually sit under the table. And my husband tried to give him dinner, and he didn't want to eat it. And so that was already a big sign. But I don't know, we thought he was sore from a hike he went on that weekend or something like that. And then my husband notices that he has completely pale gums, just, totally white. And that's when we start Googling everything. And of course, our vet is closed. It's Memorial Day. Even the emergency vet we usually go to is closed. And so we find a recommendation to go to a vet across town, and we race there. And Huxley looks really bad in the car. Really, really bad. And the whole time I'm just thinking oh, maybe he needs a blood transfusion, or, maybe it's heart failure, which is scary, but, they usually can give you medication. You're not going to die in that moment. So I wasn't, we weren't ready for it at all. We had no idea that anything was wrong with him. He was literally fine that day. And yes, he was older, but he didn't have any signs of his age yet. Not really. Maybe being a little slow on walks and stuff like that. But just all the signs. I thought maybe his legs would hurt. I thought he would have ear problems, like, I just thought so many other signs would happen first from old age before anything like this happened, and we get to the vet, and they take him in the back, and they come back and tell us the news, and it's literally the worst thing I could have ever heard. And they tell us that he has a massive aggressive tumor, cancerous tumor that burst open his spleen. That it wrapped around his spleen and burst open, and he has massive internal bleeding, and he's literally dying. Like, he is no matter what going to die. And I just break down. I just break down, and I start maybe not screaming, but I just start saying over and again, he didn't tell us. He didn't tell us. I thought he would tell us. Because I thought as he was aging that, he would just give us more signs that, he's slowing down and that his time is coming. And I knew his time was coming because of his age. He's a Samoyed, and Samoyeds usually live 12, 13, maybe 14 if you're really lucky. And so he was 11 and a half, and I knew that time was coming, but like, I still thought it was a year away. I still thought it was time away from that. I just break down, and the doctor tells us that, they could try to perform surgery to remove the spleen and stuff, but the likelihood of him surviving it are super low, and that if it's malignant, she won't even bring him back up, like, after the surgery. And so then we're left with this impossible decision of, like, this futile thing that probably won't work, or putting him down. And my heart just breaks, because it's like the last decision you ever want to make. And I start asking him, I feel like I did have a telepathic bond with Huxley, and I start asking him what he wants. And he keeps saying no to the surgery. And my husband, we keep asking the vet, like, all the, like, this and that, and what if this, and she keeps, nudging us to not do it, to just put him down, that it's really, 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 really high chances that he's going to die, no matter what. And we call our breeder, and the breeder also tells us, and my husband is so sure, he's so sure that that's the right thing to do. And so we ask if we can be with Huxley, and in that moment we're still deciding, and thank God the beauty is, like, it was so unexpected that his, like, organ would burst and he would be dying of internal bleeding. But yet, because we were there and we got to spend time with him, we got like 4 hours with him. 4 hours with him of just, like, saying goodbye, and he was just, like, he was literally, like, licking the tears off my face, and I have videos of it, and it's so precious. He was just licking the tears off my face, and sometimes he looked really bad, and he looked like he was dying in that moment. There was a moment when he was laying on my arm, and I was like, I think he might die right now. And then there was, like, a moment where he got, like, adrenaline, and, like, he looked better, and it was just, like, so hard and so confusing, and 4 hours go by of just tender goodbyes and just loving him and kissing him and talking to him. And I'm grateful for that. I'm really grateful for that. Like, he could have passed away when we weren't home. He could have passed away even at night, and we would have not known. And I'm so grateful that I got those 4 hours with him. It was such a tender moment, so tender. And just, I had him at one point, like, in my arms, and he was sleeping on my arm, or not sleeping, but, like, resting his head. And sometimes he'd be shaking and fidgeting, or like the tremors that probably are happening. And so finally at 11:24, it's time. And the doctor puts him down. And I swear I knew the second that his soul left his body. And we're just heartbroken. I mean, we woke up with a perfectly fine dog that morning, and now he's gone. And we cuddle with him more, and we say goodbye more. We go outside. It's like midnight at this point. And I swear I see his face in the clouds, that he's already giving me a message. And the last, like, week and a half since then has just been so hard because, I've always thought about this. Like when you have grief from loss, from death, there's three things that make it really, really hard. One is how expected or unexpected it is. So even though I think losing anything is going to always be hard, no matter what, someone you love is always going to be so hard. There's also a scale of how expected it was. So if it was really expected and you had a lot of time to prepare, I personally find that very comforting. So it was really, really unexpected. We had no idea. And then there's like how premature someone's death was, So it's like oftentimes much sadder when someone loses their life younger than older. Like my grandmother passed away a few weeks shy of her 98th birthday, and I was so sad because she basically raised me. She was like a motherly figure to me, and I was so sad that she was gone out of my life. But I mean, what could have I asked for? Like this woman's not going to live until 130. Like it was her time. Of course it was her time. And I know with Huxley, like I lost my first childhood dog. He was hit by a bus in front of me, and he died of internal bleeding like 20 minutes later. I was 9 years old when it happened. It was really traumatic, and it was the biggest like loss and pain in my life. So big. And as I grew up, I think I distanced myself. We had 3 other dogs since then as a family before I got Huxley. I think I kind of closed my heart a little bit to those other dogs because of how painful it was to lose the first one. And that was like a soul dog too. I was so connected with it and with him. And, I would be like, anytime someone told me that they lost their pet, especially from old age, I was just like, how grateful you can be that you had a pet that lived until old age. And I knew that my whole life. It's like the best thing you could ever ask for is for a pet to die in old age, because what is the alternative, And so when it comes on like the premature scale, like, yes, Huxley lived a very full life. And we thought he would go at 12 or 13, not 11 and a half. 12 and a half, maybe even 14. And so there's part of me that thinks it's premature, but there's also a part of me that knows that his death was inevitable. It was so inevitable. And I wish I had more time to prepare, but I kind of did as well. I kind of knew that it was coming, and I'll tell you more about that shortly. And then I think the last factor that really, goes to show how the depths of the despair and the grief that we'll feel is how close we were with someone. So, when you're the most close with someone, you'll feel the depth of that grief harder than if you were less close. So we have unexpectedness, prematurity, and how much you love them. And I think it's so hard with a dog. Like, some people think it's just a dog. But like, when that beautiful creature is the first thing that you see every day, is the thing that you give more love to, even more love than your partner sometimes. Like, I don't know how many cuddles and kisses like we're giving our partners compared to how easy it is to give to a dog. When you live for that dog, I mean, me and my husband were obsessed with Huxley. Our entire weekends revolved around Huxley. Short of us going on traveling, like our lives were revolved around that dog. If we couldn't bring the dog, we usually wouldn't go. We took him to weddings. Seriously, we took him to weddings. We took him to baby showers. We took him everywhere we possibly could. We did so many road trips with him. And every weekend, like, I know a lot of couples who do their own things on the weekend. No, us, it was like, what are we going to do with our dog? And I look back, because we got Huxley right after we got married. We got married in August, and I wrote the breeder, seeing if we could get a Samoyed from him in September. And Huxley was born December 2nd. And it like really solidified us into a family. Like, it was so beautiful. I was partying more when I was younger, and we used to live in an apartment, and we moved into a house, we got married, and we got a dog, and it just like crystallized us into a family. And it was like it was a child. It was a child where me and my husband would do anything for that child. We would sacrifice anything. We loved him so much. And I think about like the prematurity and just not knowing. And, I think to myself, if I would have known that he was going to pass, I would have spent like every living, waking moment with him. I would have cuddled him more. I would have kissed him more. And every time I say that, my husband's like, but that's how you did live. Like every single morning I would wake up and get on the ground next to him and give him a kiss and tell him, good morning, how was your sleep? And he often was on the landing after he ate breakfast, waiting for me to come downstairs. And I would stop on the landing. I would get down on the landing and give him more cuddles and kisses. And he loved it. He loved it. Like a lot of dogs don't like when you get in their face, but he loved the cuddles and the kisses. He loved the affection and the attention. I think we were so bonded. All of us, we were so, so bonded. And we would work often from the kitchen table, and we'd get down and give him kisses and cuddles there. I would sing songs to him. Whenever I was making him breakfast, I would sing him these little silly songs, or even when I was making breakfast, I would just sing about how yummy the food was in his tummy. And it's like he knew the song, and that he would get to eat when I sing the song. And it was like, that's the kind of joy that was just permeating our lives, He would come up to me after eating and he would sit in so much gratitude. And there's so many moments that I was watching TV that he would come and sit and want pets. And it's just like this constant reminder to pay attention, to lean into love, to stop getting distracted with life and problems, and to just lean into love. And I think that's what's so beautiful about having an animal, is they remind you to be present like that. They remind you to really be there with that love and that presence and that tender moment. And there's just so many tender moments we shared. He would get on the couch, and on Sunday, the day before he passed, he got on the couch and he laid his beautiful head on my lap. I love that. I love that more than anything. And just that trust that he had, and that, ability to be so comfortable with me and just petting him. And I would often tell him, like, Mommy loves you so much. Mommy loves you so much. I would just say that to him over and over again. Like, this was our life. This is like how we lived. This was what happened in my house on a daily basis. And so I wish I had more time to prepare, but my husband just reminds me I lived with so much joy. And I wanted to share something with you. I was like, we went to Alaska for a really quick weekend, and it was so beautiful too, is the timing of his passing. Like, I went on a really big trip to South Africa in October, and since then I've mostly been home. Like, there has been 2 weekends where we left like Friday to Sunday, like not really that long. Even Alaska wasn't that long. We left from Friday to Monday or Tuesday or something like that. And I remember getting back from Alaska and having this really intense intuitive feeling that Huxley was going to die. And still in my mind, that was like, well, prepare yourself, because it's going to happen in like a year or a year and a half or 2 even, if you're lucky. But I had this really intense feeling that he was going to die. And I started smothering him so much. And I started just like really being with him and taking selfies with him even more. Gosh, if you have a dog right now, please love him or her every day. Please give him kisses. Take a ton of photos. And the other day I found this in my journal, and it's actually, I found like 4 separate posts in my journal where I talked about Huxley like recently in the last few months. And I'm just like so in awe about this, because it's not like I would usually just write about my dog in my journal. But this was a moment. This was in February 17th. Again, I have no idea that something's going to happen to Huxley. But I remember at that moment, I think I was stressed about something maybe like a launch or work. And I think we had tenants moving out of our house that we own in San Diego. So just stressful about how to find new tenants and all this kind of stuff. And when you have like little problems in your life and they feel so much, and you look back and you're like, those were the stupidest problems. Like, why couldn't I have just been grateful for what I have? And so I wrote this in my journal. Beautiful. You have a huge legacy, a brilliant career, an amazing family, and yet you will tenderly miss these days, full of so much unconditional love, because there will be loss. Robert will be there. Huxley will break your heart. Cherish every moment with him. Take photos every day. Love and honor him and the gifts he shows you each day. Presence, worthiness, togetherness, loyalty, protection. He's not just a dog. He is truly one of my soulmates. So innocent, so trusting. Just be with him. Just pure love and affection. Easy, simple, just pure heart energy. It brings you in touch with an ancient world. I love him every day. And I just found that so meaningful that I found that in my journal. And that's already what I was thinking about a few months ago. Here I have, and I want to appreciate him every day we have with him. 3 more years, 4 more years. Time just goes by so quickly. And so, yeah, I wish I knew. I wish I knew before. I would have never left the house. I would have cherished every little moment and memory with him. And yet that is already how I live my life. And I am so grateful that being alcohol-free is what allows me to do that, truly. Truly, at the end of the day, being alcohol-free is a bigger symbolism of being awake to your life, of being awake to the precious moments. Because when something in your brain is looking for the next reward, is looking for the next dopamine surge, it misses the present moment. It misses the tender beautifulness of what you have in your life right now. I am so grateful, not only that I don't drink for this grief period right now, because I would be missing so much of it, but I'm so grateful I went alcohol-free when Huxley was 3 years old. And by the way, he didn't like it. He didn't like when I drank. He didn't really want to be near me as much. He wasn't as affectionate then. And if I would have kept drinking on the weekends, I would have missed his life. I would have missed it. And I'm so, so, so grateful I have that. And that ability to be present and relish and cherish every moment. And there's nothing like a beautiful animal to show you that, to remind you that, of unconditional love and the tender moments, and like stop and pay attention. Stop, pay attention. And I think about the 5 stages of grief that were made famous back in the 70s, I believe. And they are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I've gone through all of those and then some. And you don't just move through one and then you like finish it and move to the next. You kind of circulate through them all. And later on, that famous psychologist added another one, and that was meaning. And I think as everything's happened, going through the grief of the loss of something that I loved so much, but also the shock and the trauma of how we lost him, like trying to make sense of it all, trying to make meaning of it. I think what's been so beautiful about this journey, and that's something that I've been so awake to, and I'm so glad that I don't drink to have been awake to this, is literally the signs that we've gotten from Huxley. I want to share just a few of them with you. One day, 3 days after he died, he passed. No, 2 days. 2 days after he passed. My husband and I couldn't be in the house the first week. Like, we could not be in the house. I couldn't work. I was able to like reschedule a lot of things, cancel a few things. Just we were walking everywhere we could, you know, like nature walks, outside walks we love to do with Huxley, even just going to the mall. Like, we just couldn't be inside. We couldn't eat and we couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat for like a week. And so on one of these walks, we were walking like on these bluffs that look over the ocean, and we really get into it. Like, we really get into spiraling. Like, what if this? What if that? What if we chose different? What if we caught it earlier? What if we knew? What if we didn't like leave him here or there? Like, we were going so deep into it. And I knew the like last thing Huxley would ever want is to create like distance between me and my husband. I know that. I know he wanted us to feel love. And so we were just really hashing it out and talking through it all. And like, we're spiraling, right? It's traumatic. It's like all the things we could have done different. And finally, we start kind of reframing the conversation and just seeing how it was actually the perfect timing. Like, Huxley, in his infinite wisdom, didn't want us to worry. He didn't want us to worry for months that he was sick, you know? He didn't want us to worry. He didn't want us to live with the anxiety of like any moment could be his last while we're still trying to live our normal daily lives. And he did pick this like beautiful time, you know, it wasn't like this other stressful period we were going through a month before. It wasn't a time we were gone. I mean, God forbid if the same exact thing happened when we weren't home, right? Like we were home. We got to say goodbye. We got 4 hours of pure bundle of love goodbyes with him. I can't even imagine the kind of like guilt I would feel if I wasn't home. And so he orchestrated it perfectly. And that's kind of like the conversation that we're arriving at. And then literally we tell ourselves that we are still going to spiral. We're still going to go through the trauma. We're still going to like relive into this. But that the moment we do, we remind ourselves with a code word. And we decided that the code word would be the meaning of his purpose. And really finding that last stage of grief, of finding meaning to your loss, finding meaning to your suffering, finding meaning to how it all went down. And literally, the second we say that, we look up, the sun is setting over the ocean, it starts raining. It doesn't often rain that much in SoCal, and like it's like not, especially when it's sunny, so it's like the sun's out, it's raining. And I look to the left and there's a giant rainbow. And you know that saying over like the dog that crosses the rainbow bridge? And literally in that moment, I was just like, it's him. It's him and he's talking to us. And not only is he telling us how much he loves us and, you know, that he's there and he's giving us messages, but like literally as we just finished that conversation, he was, that's it, mama. That is it. I chose the perfect time. Trust me. Trust me that I chose the perfect time. And God, we just start crying and we feel so special in that moment that he's speaking to us. Later on, I do the numerology of his name. And this isn't something I normally do. I've never even done my name or my husband's name, but I decided to do the numerology of his name. And there's still so many what ifs, like, you know, what if we were meant to like hold on to him until 5 a.m., for example? Like, what if we were supposed to prolong it? What if we were supposed to be with him longer? You know, so it's like still so many more what ifs. What if we could have taken him home? Like the vet really wouldn't let us. You know, the vet was like, no, this is, you know, he's dying right now. But just so many what ifs that you think about in that moment. Anyway, I do the numerology of his name. And the last 2 letters are his exact death date. Exact. And I know like only mommy would know to look for that sign. Only like Huxley knew that mommy would figure that out and know that it was the perfect timing and to trust him. And that just brought me so much solace and comfort. And I swear I've gotten so many signs since then. Like the next day, we were out on a walk. It was also overlooking the ocean, but it was higher up on these cliffs. And my husband and I took him there like a month ago. And my husband loved, you know, a Samoyed is a really big, fluffy dog. So gentle, so loving. I mean, they were bred in Siberia. Like huskies were meant to pull this like sleigh and whatever. They were like working dogs. And so are Samoyeds up to a point. They shepherd reindeer, which I think is so cute. But they were also bred to actually keep the babies warm at night. So like the Samoyeds slept in the tent with the Samoyed people and helped keep everyone warm. And that's like what a loving dog he was. He was such a family dog. He loved people. We would often stop in the street with babies and toddlers and they would like pet his head and we never had like a worry in the world that he would react badly. He loved it. He loved affection and attention. He was so sweet. And so anyway, that's the dog he was. And my husband, he loved, especially when he was shedding, he would shed really badly twice a year, but also all the time, like all the time. I never wear black. There's white hair everywhere. And it's so special that now in his grief, my grief, literally we're finding the hair in places that we never noticed before. Like it will just randomly be on my face or in my mouth. I'm like, Huxley, how are you in my mouth? Like it is everywhere. And especially in moments that I'm like crying really hard, all of a sudden I look down and there's his hair, you know, it's beautiful like that. But anyway, back to my story. We're on this hike. We're crying, we're walking, and we get to the end of the trail and we sit down at the end of the trail and it's just overlooking the ocean and we're on this dirt and there's like the California chaparral around us. And we're crying and we're crying. And I look down like maybe 2 feet and I notice all this hair. And we go to it and we pick it up and it's literally Huxley's hair. Like I was saying, my husband loved to pull out his hair when he was shedding and throw it into the air. And we were there about a month ago, and he pulled out a ton of his hair and let it out into the air. And that's where he did it. And we had no idea it would still be there, but it also like blew around. So this 10-foot area, basically nowhere else on the trail had it, but this 10-foot area was covered in his hair, and it was in the bushes and little flowers. And like, we start picking it up, and we took some home, but we left most of it like under a rock there. And we're like, Huxley, like, you were literally talking to us all the time. All the time. It was just so, so freaking beautiful. And we're crying, like holding his hair on this hike. And the last one I'll share with you is I went back to the vet where he passed away. And most vets in SoCal, they're in like a strip mall. It's not a cute place. It's industrial. It's, lots of shops and stuff. But like I said, our vet was closed. Even our other emergency vet was closed. So we went to this vet across town, and that vet was perched on this canyon overlooking mountains, which is so rare in SoCal. Everything's so overdeveloped here. But here there's nothing. When you look outside the doors of the vet, you literally see nothing but mountains, canyons, and foliage. So such a beautiful place. And I decide I just want to go back there and pick some wildflowers, and I think part of me really wants to experience the beauty of this grief and be really in touch with the moment, instead of pushing it down and then having it be a trigger later on, where I can't even drive by that vet because it just makes me feel so much pain. I wanted to feel it now. And so I go there and I pick all these wildflowers and I make this bouquet, and I go back inside, and the vet had mailed us a really sweet card, and then they got us his paw print in blue. And I just wanted to thank them for that. And I thank them, and this really beautiful song's playing, and I just take a video of the flowers and the door of the room that he died in. And I'm leaving, and most of my wildflowers are made up of this flower. I didn't know what it was then. It was a yellow flower, and there were different variations of it. There was also white ones and purple ones and red ones, but I'm like, this yellow one is the most beautiful one. It's this beautiful yellow wildflower. I love the smell of it. The bees were buzzing, and literally as I was picking it, my husband stayed in the car because he just couldn't in that moment be there, and I bless his heart that he even drove me there, and he was able to be in that parking lot, but he stayed in the car, and I was just, walking around picking these wildflowers, and I make a note that the yellow one is my favorite, and that's the one that I want to commemorate Huxley with. And then all of a sudden, this wind starts swirling around me. It's not windy, up in the air. The trees aren't swaying, but it's there's this whirlwind tornado of leaves on the ground that I know is Huxley speaking to me. And the craziest thing is that my husband saw it too. Even though he was in the car and trying to not really be there, he looked over at the exact right moment, and he mentioned it before I did, how he saw the whirlwind and he saw me picking flowers, and that was Huxley speaking to us. And so later that day, we go to a plant store. We're not ready to get a new dog, so we figure let's get some more plants in the house. We're so alone in this house. We've never not had an animal that's lived with us. And I figure out what the flower is. It's called a lantana. And I'm specifically the yellow one. They also are in red and purple and stuff, but specifically the yellow one will be our flower. And literally since then, I swear to you, I have not seen this flower before. When you don't pay attention to life, you just don't notice things. I feel like I've never seen it before. And literally since then, I have seen it everywhere. We're driving, there it is. And especially in the moments where I'm breaking down and crying, I see the yellow flower. And literally just yesterday, my husband and I drove to the mailbox, and there was the flower all near our house. And I was like, this is literally, it's probably been there the whole time, and I never noticed it. And it's he is there consoling us every day. Every day he's been giving us a beautiful sign. And I just feel so in touch with spirituality, and I'm reading all these books about animal grief and communicating with animals from beyond and their afterlife and stuff. And I think I'm gonna go off the deep end here. I'm just ready to be the total spiritual being and just really, really go all into that, and just not see anything as a coincidence anymore, and just see the serendipities and feel so connected. And I know that's where I was always going with my ancestors and, how much of a spiritual awakening I had going alcohol free, but this just takes it to another level. Like, he is talking to us. He is sending messages through songs and through flowers and through numbers and through the wind and through clouds. He sent me a few messages through clouds too. I just want to thank you for listening, whether you're going through something hard or grief or loss. Like, Huxley meant so much, not only to me, but he was the company mascot. I have so many photos of him with clients. He went to almost every certification retreat. We've held 5 so far. He'd been to every single one except for one, because we chose a property that wasn't dog friendly. So that was the only one we couldn't bring him. But other than that, we took him. We took him on retreats, and he met all these beautiful women, and he loved on them. And I have so many photos of him, like, while I'm teaching, and he's literally, like, either sitting on the chair or, like, sitting by me. Like, he loved to be in my presence. I mean, so many times when I recorded this podcast, he would be in the room, and I'd be, like, petting him, hoping he wasn't gonna make a big noise, because it's not like I would close the door on him, he would just scratch at the door, and he was such a big presence in this company. And if you ever got a chance to meet Huxley, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that he got to share his spirit with you and his love with you, because he had so much love to give. So much freaking love to give. Thank you for letting me share this episode. I know it's a little bit of a departure, but it just goes back to how grateful I am that I was not drinking for most of his life, and that I really did get to appreciate all those moments. That holding his hand on a Friday evening was so much better than, the dopamine surge you get from a glass of wine, and that I could really be present for that moment. And also just so grateful that when you are feeling grief, when you are feeling loss, it gets so much more painful when you numb it with alcohol, because you still feel the bad, but then you don't get to feel the good. You're numbing all the good. And there is meaning in loss. There is meaning in grief. And I'm so glad that Huxley's already shown us that multiple times, and that this is what it means to be alcohol free. It means to be fully alive and awake to your life. There's so much meaning behind that. And one day we'll all be dead, and one day we'll all look back at our life and just wish we were more present with it. And that's the one thing that alcohol takes away. It takes away your presence. You're either always looking forward to it, or you're not present in the moment because you're getting buzzed and your brain's going somewhere, or you're a little hungover and you wish that would go by quicker too. It's like being alcohol-free truly allows you to be present with the moment. And that is the greatest gift that life gives us. Thank you so much for listening, and for everyone who shared their love and their sympathy. Like, it means the world. It really means the world to me to have such a beautiful community, and to be able to share my life with you and impart some lessons that I learn along the way, and for you to be inspired and empowered. It means the world to me. So thank you for letting me share, and bless your week.